Here are 15 ways I make my life easier as a work from home mom. So, how do you work from home full-time with kids? My name is Laura and I am a mom of 4, and I do have a full-time work from home job, and I've worked from home with my kids on 2 separate times. Once I worked when she was between the ages of 1 and 2, and then I've also worked from home with a newborn. And I do have 4 kids, but I do not work from home when all 4 kids are home with me. I now work from home with a 6-month-old, and then I also have my 6-year-old home with me after schools for a few hours in the afternoon. I've also worked in an office, so I've had to navigate like daycare and school drop-offs, as well as getting to work on time, and currently working from home and how I balance that schedule. And so I feel like I have a good amount of experience and some advice that I wanted to share. Here are 15 ways I make my life easier as a work from home mom. So unfortunately, my number one piece of advice is to have a job that is not meeting heavy or phone heavy. And I know that that's a little unrealistic, but if you have a job that's customer facing, where you're on the phone all the time, if you're in a lot of meetings, if you're leading a lot of meetings, if you have a lot of same day deadlines, things like that are gonna make it, I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but it's going to make it very, very hard to actually get the work done with your kids there at the home at the same time. So my job is very data heavy, data entry. I have 1 scheduled meeting a week and no phone calls, and so it's a lot easier for me to be interrupted, to take breaks and go handle things with the kids, and then come back to work, as well as work kind of outside of the normal 8 to 5 hours, because I don't have other people that I need to be in live communication with, so I can work earlier mornings or in the evenings if that was the case. Number 2 is the nap time hustle. And I am not the inventor of the nap time hustle. This has definitely been brought up before. And it's just where once your kids are down for a nap, then that's when you just pound it out and get everything done. You're super productive in that like little window that's there. In order to do this, you need 1, kids that are napping. So that's why it's worked with me for, a newborn and a 6-month-old, or even like a 1 and a 2-year-old, because they take naps in the day and I can just get my work done at that time. I also have my 6-year-old home in the afternoons, and she's not napping, but she's also more able to be independent and play in her room quietly for a little bit if I have some things that I need to focus on with work. You also have to prepare for when that time comes. So you can't just put your kid down for a nap and be like, okay, I'm gonna work, and it kind of, well, what am I gonna do? What's my emails look like? Da 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 da. And all of a sudden you've wasted 20 or 30 minutes just like putzing around. I don't know. So you need to make a list of the things you want to accomplish at that time. What are your high priority things? What are your deadlines? Do you have a meeting at that time? Write it down, so when nap time is over, you can be sure that you have accomplished all of those things. Especially when nap times are a little bit unpredictable. Sometimes you have like 2 or 3 hours to get everything done, and sometimes it might be a shorter nap, and so you need to be on it in that first 30 minutes. And I mentioned this in other videos, how much that I prep ahead of time for things, prepping, lunches the night before for school drop-offs to make my morning routine easier. So again, prepping ahead of time for your nap time hustle is so important. But that kind of leads me into number 3, which is just prep everything in your life ahead of time as much as you can. I do things like I'll make dinners, and maybe I'll double the recipe so I have a lot of leftovers, and that way my lunch the next day is going to be leftovers, easy to heat, no effort required. I'm not assembling a sandwich or, standing over a stove waiting for a quesadilla to melt to eat it for my lunch, because that is time where I could be working or I could be handling the kids. I also make sure I have easy dinner recipes. So something maybe like a crock pot that you can prep early morning and it just cooks all day, or something that you can do, in under 30 minutes. I'm a big fan of like an Alfredo, cooking the noodles, cooking the sauce. You use rotisserie pre-cooked chicken and you can put it together, and it is so quick and so easy and still a really delicious dinner for the whole family. So you can prep it at different times so it's ready at dinner time. And that way, your nighttime, when everyone's home, you can focus that on family time if you feel like you need a little bit more in that area. Or if you have some work that you're a little behind on, you have a little bit of time in the evening to kind of catch up on those work things as well, instead of just standing in the kitchen trying to come up with some fancy meal. Now, that being said, when you are in your nap time hustle and you have your devoted work time, you actually need to do work. And it sounds a little obvious, but this isn't the time we're doing our chores. This isn't the time we're meal planning. You're going to stay focused on your deadlines, stay focused on your priorities, because house things can happen at night and work things need to happen during work hours. You can maybe be like answering emails outside of work hours, like at night if you want to, but do you want to? I'd rather be doing family things at that time. So when I have time to focus on my work, I make sure that I focus on my work as hard as that is. In order to kind of stay on task in that way, is I batch all of my work tasks together. So again, this kind of depends on the type of job that you have, but I have like a checklist of things that I need to do every day. And I make sure that I do all of one thing on that checklist and then just cross it off. So if I have data entry, I do all the data entry and I can cross it off. If I'm answering emails, I respond to all my emails and I cross it off. Or if I have, to-dos, I cross those off. And that way I have that satisfaction of just like completely eliminating something from my to-do list. And it kind of gives me motivation that I'm making progress, things are getting done, that maybe I'm a little behind on this one thing, but at least this other thing I've already crossed off, and it takes a little bit of that time pressure off. And if I batch my work, even if I do have interruptions, I'm able to get right back on track, and those, task switching, I know exactly where I was at, get right back into it. And that helps me just be super productive during my working hours. As someone with 4 kids, I do not work from home with all 4 kids. My oldest 2 are in school. I have a first grader and a preschooler. And then I have a 2-year-old who's in daycare. And then my baby is home with me. And so I know that that's not always the case to be able to afford a daycare or things like that. But that is something that we prioritize and budget into our expenses in order to also have me working a full-time W-2 job. This isn't a debate about whether you should be a stay-at-home mom or a working mom, or whether the cost of daycare is worth the income that I'm making, because to me, it is important to be a working mom, and that is something that I want to continue to do. That being said, I do send my kids to school and I send them to daycare. Basically, if they're under the age of 2, they could stay home with me. And if they're over the age of 5, they would be able to be home with me, after school. But if they're between the ages of 3 and 5 or 2 and 5, which 2 of my kids are, I do not work from home when they're here with me, because they're not at the age where I'm able to make that work for anybody in that situation. My work would struggle, my kids would struggle, and I would struggle. My advice for number 6 is to work from home with your kids if they're under age 2 or over age 5, and send them to daycare. Number 7 is to have a backup plan. This is great advice for any situation, but depending on your job, maybe you have some trainings you have to do, maybe you're like giving a presentation, maybe you have all day meetings, or you have to like be on site somewhere for having meetings. For me, I need to have some sort of backup plan if I have these responsibilities and it wouldn't be able to have my kids with me. And so my backup plan is just our daycare situation, where my 2-year-old goes, all of my kids are welcome to go there on a drop-in basis. And so I would just send them to that daycare for the time when I would need it. It's also really helpful for things if I have like personal appointments that I need to make it to. If I'm going to the dentist and I can't bring my kid with me, I have a backup plan. I also have my parents who live nearby and they're also able to take care of them. You definitely need to have like another option in those case of emergency situations that you need childcare for everyone. Number 8 is to be flexible. So I've worked from the library, I've worked at a park before, I've worked sitting on our couch with the TV going, I've sat in the front seat of my car and connected to the Wi-Fi while my kids were asleep in the car seat in the back. I've worked standing at the bar in our kitchen and had the baby wearing in the chest and was working standing up, and just being flexible with kind of your work environment, because sometimes sitting at your designated desk is not always going to be the best situation. Number 9 is to have a plan for your entertainment. And I mean this more directed towards older kids, because it's so easy to just have her come home from school, grab a snack, sit down on the couch, and then she watches TV for 2 hours until the end of the workday. And that's an option. It's not a great option, but it's an option. So I set up like a little station where she has different activities that she can kind of keep herself entertained in that time if I'm occupied in another way. So we've done like coloring pages, or I maybe have like a new kind of game or like toy, something kind of small that she hasn't seen before or like in a while. We have different books and she can like flip through the books, something that you can like break out in an emergency if you need that independent time. Now, with that being said, number 10 is to be okay with a little bit of chaos. So, you know, ideally our kids are just sitting there so nicely playing with their little toys or doing some coloring, and then you come and check on them 30 minutes later and everyone is happy and entertained. That's probably not going to happen realistically. So just be okay with a little bit of chaos. Your kid is just going to dump the entire box of toys out onto the rug, and that's going to be a big pain to mess up. Maybe they're going to rip the pages out of the coloring book, or they're going to take all the magnets off the fridge. That's a pain. We don't want that to happen. It's gonna mean you have more work to have to clean up later, but that might be the kind of trade-off for some work time. You know, if my kid is quietly playing with all of the toys in the middle of the living room rug while I'm finishing up the last 3 emails that I have to send out, then like I'm okay with that. Like, we can clean it up, we can fix it. We just have to make sure that whatever room that they're in or like the house that they're in is childproof. So, you know, the normal safety things that you would do to childproof a room, let's do that if you're not able to keep your eyes on them the whole time. Number 11 is to have a non-negotiable time block for yourself. So for me, I block off 2 hours on Wednesday mornings. I block it off on my work calendar, and this is the time that I use for like my family things. I have 1 meeting a week on Wednesdays. It's right before this meeting, so I know that I'm not going to be able to be involved with the kids during that meeting time. So I take the time right before it, block it off, and focus on my kids. It could be hanging out with them. I do a lot of grocery pickups at that time. I'll clean up the dishes from breakfast. Well, maybe we'll go for like a little walk, let the dog out. Little things around the home that I feel like are being a little neglected. It's kind of like a midweek catch-up thing. And then I can feed the baby, I can get him down for a nap, and know that he's taken care of for my mandatory meeting that I have for the next 2 hours of the day on Wednesdays. But I do not allow any work things to be scheduled during that time block. That is non-negotiable personal time for me. And speaking of my own personal time, number 12 is I also make sure I take care of myself during this time. There's so much that I'm giving to other people. I'm giving to my boss, to my coworkers, to my children, the children that are home with me, the children that are at daycare that I'm prepping for. And so I deserve something as well. And, you know, there's the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's very much relevant in this way, that you need to make sure you are taken care of so you can take care of all these other things, because everything you're taking care of is important, and you yourself are important as well. I need to be able to perform my best for those who deserve my best. However that may look for you, whether it's having like a fancy little coffee, getting your nails done, working out, things like that. One thing I've started doing is doing my makeup every day. I used to not do my makeup, and I realized that I just feel better when I'm prepared for the day and present myself better. So that was a recent change that I've done that I feel like really makes a difference in my attitude in the day. And going along those lines, number 13 is to be kind with myself if I'm not performing my best and performing to my expectations. If I'm not 100% focused on work, or I'm not 100% focused on my kid and I'm being pulled in both directions, I don't feel guilty about it, because that is the situation that I'm in. And I just make sure when I have the time to focus on my work, I give my work my priority. When I have the time to focus on my kids, I give my kids a priority. And on times when I can't focus on either one 100%, that's okay. I'm gonna do 50% to both, and that is also wonderful. I just want to find that balance where if I feel like at the end of the day I was very focused on work and my kids need a little bit of love, then I would spend a little bit more time with them and kind of bring it back into balance. In order to kind of bring that balance back is we do our family time on the weekends. And this isn't that different than people who work maybe in an office, or even people who work from home, maybe, and whose husbands are working out of the home, and everybody spends weekends together with their family. But we specifically make sure to be intentional with this time, having that family time. You know, we're not just doing chores around the house. We're not just like running errands everywhere and, you know, things like that. We intentionally spend time together. We go to the park and spend hours outside playing at the park, away from our phones and our computer. We'll make cookies. We'll have a family movie night, and we'll, you know, make it fun. Go do it in the backyard, or build a fort, and we'll cuddle together. And we really make sure to fill that family cup as much as possible. So then during the week, if work kind of tends to ramp up a little bit, we have a little bit more of that family time that we can lean on, and also be able to expect and know that it's coming up in just a few days. And number 15 is to have a devoted partner and a helpful partner. And again, this is kind of like based on your situation, but I have had to be a solo mom a few times when Eric has had to work further away. We actually have videos from our time when he worked 2 hours away and lived in our RV, and that meant that I was a solo mom 24/7. So that was a big challenge, and it was a short-term situation, so I got through it. Gold star to me. It honestly, it wouldn't be able to be a long-term thing. For the women who have husbands who are like deployed or who are working these crazy shifts, and that makes it so much harder that everything involving the house and the kids are on you 100% of the time. And so in order to work from home with kids consistently, as I need that partnership, and Eric is so wonderful with this. Although I'm the parent that does the drop-offs and does the pickups and, you know, watches the baby all day and picks up the kids from school and watches them before he comes home. Once he is home, it is all hands on deck. He is cooking dinner, he's doing bath time, he's helping with homework, he's giving the baby a bottle, he's, you know, taking care of the dog, he's packing the lunches, he's unloading the dishwasher, like whatever it may be, we help with everything. And then that way, when all of those responsibilities are done, we are prepped for the next day, prepping ahead, just like I said, then we can have family time together, and we can all enjoy that time together, as well as also making our life easier for the next day. So that's my best pieces of advice that I have. And I don't even have like products that are specifically any better than anything else. So for when I have a newborn, and currently I have a 6-month-old, the product that I have used the most is an electric swing. Specifically a swing that rocks without you having to be there, so not a bouncer. And I can put him down in an electric swing, you know, in the other room or on the other side of the room while I'm working, and he can take a great nap in there while I'm focused on it. If he's bouncing in it, you know, if I have to bounce it, I can't be focusing on work because I'm focusing on bouncing the baby. Also things like a chest carrier, that helps a lot, especially when they're little. They can take really good naps all cuddled up to you. I've also used our baby monitor a lot, where I can put him down for a nap. His room's actually right here, and watch him from the other room, and I don't have to worry about my conversations that I'm having, or if I'm like in a meeting and making noise that is going to disturb him. Or an enclosed play area as well. If you don't want them having free range of the whole home, having like an enclosed play area, it could be a pack and play. Seriously, put the toys in the pack and play, they'll be fine there. I've also done it where I put furniture up between like the couch and the wall and kind of created like a little enclosed area to play in there, and that works too. Like, no purchase necessary. If you would like to follow along for more mom content, working mom content, work from home videos, mom of 4 vlogs, and other motherhood videos, I would love if you subscribe and follow along for more. So thanks for watching.